Welcome to this explainer of our source material. Today, we're jumping right in to map out the functional blueprint of American state assembly elections. We're going to explore the text to really understand how the mechanics and honestly, the underlying philosophies differ fundamentally from your standard corporate or political party elections. It's a fascinating system, so let's get started. Here is our agenda for today. We'll be covering 6 core pillars: the purpose of assembly elections, the electors, offices and positions, election procedures, accountability, and finally, self-governance. Section 1. The purpose of assembly elections: building functional governance. If we look at the source materials, they explicitly define an assembly as a peaceful, inclusive, committee-based gathering of men and women on the land. The stated goal here? To rebuild lawful American government. It's described as functioning much like an extended family of neighbors, all working together for long-term mutual security. But conversely, the texts make a really sharp distinction regarding what an assembly is not. It's not a corporation, it's not a membership club, a hierarchical organization, or a hub for mob rule. Instead, the assembly is designed to be entirely committee-based, completely resisting those traditional corporate-style structures we see so often. Now, this right here illustrates a core philosophy of the source material. It's the stark difference between positional and functional authority. In this system, offices are viewed nearly as duties to be fulfilled. They're not hierarchical positions that elevate one individual over another. You aren't the boss, you just have a specific job to do. Section 2. The electors. Who votes? You might be wondering, who actually gets to cast a ballot? Well, simply being a state national or a state citizen doesn't automatically qualify someone as an elector. The texts define a state elector as someone who has adopted that political status, but who also owns land in the state. And fascinatingly enough, the documents specify that your own body is legally considered land for this purpose. That being said, there's no wiggle room here. There are strict, non-negotiable eligibility requirements to formally participate. An elector has to be at least 21 years of age, have formally presented a public record affirming their adopted status, maintain a permanent home in that specific state, and have lived there for at least 1 year and 1 day. The system absolutely does not allow for dual citizenship or divided loyalties when conducting assembly business. Section 3. Offices and positions. Deputies, not representatives. So, as we discussed, functional duties mean specific, practical tasks. The Assembly Secretary manages agendas and archives. The Treasurer handles banking and ledgers. The General Assembly Chairman organizes courts and jury pools. And the Militia Leader coordinates state-level assistance and rescue efforts. Notice how none of these descriptions involve ruling over people or making unilateral policy. They are simply distinct jobs necessary to keep the Assembly running smoothly. And this philosophy directly influences how candidates are vetted. A treasurer, for instance, is evaluated based entirely on practical character traits. The questions asked are things like, is the person trustworthy? Are they diligent? Are they good with numbers? Can they actually manage a ledger accurately? In this framework, the focus isn't on finding the best orator or the wealthiest politician. It's literally just about hiring a neighbor to perform a highly specific administrative task. The source actually drives us home forcefully with a great literary reference. It states, "In our government, there is no positional authority. They did not, like the pigs in Animal Farm, become more equal than anyone else by virtue of being elected." The texts remind us that elected chairpersons are simply spokespersons. They are strictly constrained to protect individual rights, rather than rule as corporate executives. Section 4. Election procedures, the mechanics of choosing. Okay, let's look at the mechanics. The election process outlined in the texts flows logically right from the ground up. First, trained assembly coordinators post public notices and arrange meeting times. Then, the individual counties hold their local elections in the autumn. During these elections, qualified electors choose 2 local deputies to act as fiduciary officers for that county. Finally, those deputies attend the broader state General Assembly session, which traditionally takes place after the winter holidays. Section 5. Accountability and recall. Power to the people. This brings us to a really foundational concept in the source text called the prudent man rule. Under this rule, deputies are legally bound to act responsibly. They aren't allowed to spend public money recklessly or endanger the public welfare in any way. If a deputy violates this standard of prudence, well, they face immediate consequences from the assembly that elected them. And those consequences are remarkably straightforward. The texts explicitly state that no arduous recall petition process is required. Instead, the affected assembly simply holds a vote to recall the deputy at will. The only procedural requirements are that notice of the recall must be posted and delivered at least 30 days in advance, and the specific cause for the recall must be provided in writing. Just look at how streamlined this process is. A simple written explanation of the cause, autographed by those seeking the recall, is quite literally all that is legally required to trigger a vote. Power remains entirely at the local level, right in the hands of the electors. Section 6. Elections and Self-Governance. The ultimate choice. The texts frame this entire process as a stark, defining choice for individuals. Choice 1 is to join your American State Assembly, record your status as a self-governing American owed constitutional guarantees, and actually take responsibility for your government. Choices 2 and 3 involve joining district or municipal assemblies, which the texts define as accepting the status of a corporate citizen or subject under foreign statutory law, thereby giving up those constitutional guarantees. It's presented as a fundamental choice between active self-governance and corporate compliance. The whole structure, from the strict eligibility to the functional authority, the prudent man rule, and that grassroots flow, all serves one singular philosophical goal. Assembly elections are intended to place responsibility for self-governance directly into the hands of the people who participate. But in a modern world so accustomed to corporate political structures, the question remains, are individuals truly ready to take that responsibility back?